Just a couple of words to say about unemployment. I wonder how many of you know the backstory about how the ridiculous tradition of US unemployment statistics came about. Needless to say, not reflected remotely in the unemployment statistics of a single other country worldwide. Let's look at the reality first. I think we ought to be able to agree that a person who is looking for a full-time job that pays a living wage but who can't find one is unemployed. If you accept that definition, the true unemployment rate in the US is a stunning 26.1%, according to an important new data set shared exclusively with Axios on HBO. The official unemployment rate is weak. It also excludes anybody who has stopped looking for work or is discouraged by a lack of jobs or by the demands of childcare during the coronavirus crisis. If you measure the unemployed as anybody over 16 years old who isn't earning a living wage, the rate rises even further to 54.6%. For Black Americans, it's 59.2%. The official definition of unemployment can be traced back to the 1870s, when a Massachusetts statistician named Carroll Wright diagnosed what he referred to as industrial hypochondria. By restricting the unemployed label to men who really want employment, Wright managed to minimize the unemployment figure. Wright went on to found the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and he brought his unemployment definition with him. To this day, to be officially counted as unemployed, you need to be earning no money at all, and you need to be actively looking for work. In January, when the official rate of unemployment was 3.6%, the true rate was 7 times greater, 23.4%. That's according to new calculations from the Ludwig Institute for Shared Economic Prosperity, founded by Gene Ludwig, a former US comptroller of the currency. Quote unquote, "I was shocked that a quarter of the population that want work can't earn a living wage. 0.8% of Black Americans now have a full-time job paying more than $20,000 a year. The unemployment catastrophe in America is not new. It's been at crisis levels for decades, but it's been hidden behind the official numbers. Americans filed another 898,000 first-time jobless claims last week on a seasonally adjusted basis, according to the Department of Labor. That's more than economists had expected and up 53,000 from the prior week. Weekly claims have fallen a long way since peaking at 6.9 million in late March. But the improvements have slowed to a snail's pace economists had expected and up 53,000 from the prior week. Weekly claims have fallen a long way since peaking at 6.9 million in late March. But the improvements have slowed to a snail's pace in recent weeks and went into reverse last week. That means it could take a long time to get back to the pre-pandemic level of around 200,000 claims per week. After an ambitious expansion of the safety net in the spring saved millions of people from poverty, the aid is now largely exhausted, and poverty has returned to levels higher than before the coronavirus crisis, 2 new studies have found. The number of poor people has grown by 8 million since May, according to researchers at Columbia University, after falling by back row America is getting kicked in the teeth. Listen to these stats from the Social Security Administration on wage earners. 32% of wage earners make less than $20,000 a year. 44% make less than $30,000. 56% make less than $40,000. 66% make less than $50,000. The median wage for 2019 was only $34,248. Yet these people who can barely support themselves and who've lost jobs and income in the COVID-19 lockdowns are also expected to support 76 million retiring baby boomers. How's that going to work? Maybe more of the magic elixir, free money, is needed. Donald Trump certainly thinks so. President Trump called a week ago for even more stimulus spending than the $1.8 trillion proposed by Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin in his talks with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Quoting Trump, "I would take more. I would go higher. Go big or go home." Trump said he's communicated his views to Mnuchin, quote unquote. "I've told him. So far he hasn't come home with the bacon." Trump's latest comments illustrate the fluid and disorganized state of affairs in the stimulus talks at a time when the economic recovery appears to be stalling. But the so-called recovery is not stalling, it's fake. And so is the stimulus that's supposed statistics and fake money. So far, it looks like the COVID-19 lockdowns have taken about 4.3% out of nominal GDP, according to the International Monetary Fund. Last year's GDP was $21.4 trillion. This year, US GDP will clock in at around $20.5 trillion. But, and this is a big but, that's after the Fed's pumped in beaucoup money. For the sake of round numbers, we'll say the total input in extra federal spending, including the Paycheck Protection Program, $1,200 checks, and unemployment boosters, was between $3 and $4 trillion. But, and this is an even bigger but, that printing press money is not the same. Even bigger but. That printing press money is not the same as real GDP. You can't really replace honest output, goods and services that people are willing to pay for, with pieces of paper or electronic notations. Yet this printing press money is included in the GDP figures as if it were real. Take it away, and the real GDP falls. It's hard to say by how much, maybe by $3 trillion, maybe less, maybe more. The flim-flam is further disguised by average numbers. If a single billionaire's wealth goes up by 10%, 99 million people could get poorer, but the average would still be positive. The whole slimy edifice is fraudulent. Fake money, fake money, fake GDP, fake stimulus, fake growth, fake opinions, and fake numbers. And yet, both Trump and the Democrats are planning on making it worse with more fake printing press money, of course. But all the phony money does is distort, mislead, and cheat. Like all counterfeit money, it can make some people richer, but only by making others poorer. 90% of the nation's financial assets are held by 10% of the people. Want to make them richer? Just give them more counterfeit money to Wall Street. But the general effect is to cause chaos, confusion, and envy. That's why one of the techniques of modern That's why one of the techniques of modern warfare is to counterfeit an enemy's currency, hoping to wreck his economy. But while you can make some people richer, there's no case in history where stimulus has made most people richer. Most people rely on the economy for their income, not the stock market. An economy is a complex web of give and take. Favour the savers and you punish the borrowers. Favour the exporters and you pinch the importers. Privilege the rich and you give the poor a kick in the teeth. Or, if you try to stimulate the whole economy by dumping money from helicopters, all you do is raise prices and cause misery and pandemonium for everyone. Neither Trump nor Biden nor the voters